Rocket League action. Myself and Psycho are going to take this one best of 7, the club versus NIP.
And it's a magical time to be watching this matchup, and unfortunately in the eyes of many supporters, I'm sure, these are two teams which haven't reared their heads at the top of every single one of our splits so far, but right here, right now, they are trying to make a difference.
Back in their defense, the club are starting NIP, I think unsurprisingly, with a Stromic in Tokayo. Shot on target, stop on the goal line, but unbroken. He immediately gets removed as well from the field. And Bems is not shy to continue on moving the ball in front of the club's net. Pressure from NIP first 40 seconds. I'm pretty sure the possession and the dominance stat is about 100% in favor of Ninjas.
Yeah, and I think we can come to expect that given the incredibly aggressive nature of this roster, and just glancing at the club, maybe a team that takes a more passive approach to their play. They very much thrive on their capabilities as a team instead of these solo plays such as this one from Astromic, which almost did some damage there.
This is too close for comfort on every single drive from NIP. Astromic already jumping up high, does not even need to participate. Bems with a finish. Kaio collecting the assist from the flank. And look at that, they just look at each other, nod to one another. No need to say anything. Bems, a beautiful little play on the back. Yes, Ian Pinheiro has put it in his own net, but I feel like the goal has been coming the moment the first whistle happened and the kickoff happened as well.
Yeah, maybe concerning signs so far from the club, as NIP, their possession game is just incredible at the moment. Ian Pinheiro tries to work this ball infield. Kaio down the side now trying to chase this ball forwards. Pan right there to counteract though as he throws this one infield.
More and more pressure. Now straight after the kickoff, it's the club who's getting their chances. Demos, Astromic removed. Kaio can only put it to the side, and this is where NIP regain the possession. Do players on the club have any boost? They're going to stop the ball in the middle of the field. But look at that, the 50s in favor of NIP. Another long attempt straight from the other side of the field. A connection on the ground goes a tad too high. And while the club are finally getting some chances on the other side of the field, what they're lacking is that staying power that NIP had previously.
Yeah, and maybe stopping power as well, as they're yet to really register any sort of meaningful shots on target, unfortunately. They're still moving forward are the club, as, well, when I said that, immediately pressed back as well. Unbroken on the wall, beaten out there by Astromic. Pan straight back into the mix in that corner as the club just really praying they can escape this defense right now.
Right now all they need is powerful field, and they get that. Astromic is forced to go all the way back, and while he gets the control of the ball in some matter of fact, he's not getting much. Unbroken, not with a direct possession to make a shot, and the club are at least trying to keep the ball in. Seemingly that's all they can be hoping for by this point. NIP's defense has reset. Everybody's home. Long drive on the backboard. Facilitates somebody from NIP to come to make at least a block, and right in front of the net. This is the best chance that the club had so far, but solid in the net is a strong.
It was absolutely solid from NIP. I was sure that infield pass was going to be tucked away, because that final defender on NIP just looks so uncomfortable there at the back lines, but still the club working their way forward. Ian Pinheiro with a beautiful 50. What a save that is from Bems. I have no idea how that just happened.
These shots are coming out of nowhere. Obviously, you could see the passing play develop. You can see club coming from their own side and starting a play of their own. Demo on the line. That means that there's not an immediate start. I say that the Pinheiro is immediately start up and forward. But yeah, the club is managing to very quickly transition from their defense to a preparation for a shot, and then all of a sudden the shot comes out. But NIP holding on out. A pinch of Kaio means that the ball was going to go in an NIP side, but again, no immediate control from the club. And transition game is so fast, Psycho. All I'm seeing is that both teams are playing. So somebody said about APAC that are playing 100% boost, 100% power all the time, and that's what I'm seeing from club and NIP right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's true to say that, as Unbroken tries to take this one over to the side. As Ian Pinheiro right there in support to try and follow this ball forwards. Pan really doesn't have many options to work with. Downfield is the club, but still, unfortunately, no space to put a shot on target. NIP have just collected themselves so well in these final couple of minutes, and what a finish, what a strike that is from Astromic to push that gap open a little bit more.
And I love the pass from Kaio. All attention on him. the players of the club are seeing. Yes, there's a player approaching, but Kaio doesn't have an immediate shot. But out of nowhere, a direct shot on target. Well, the club are playing a distance game in the net rather than attacking the ball. That long distance and powerful shot gets past the club, and we started with a bang, and we are ending the game with a bang. 2-goal differential for NIP might just be enough for them to net the first win, unless the club has something to say about it. But the time is not their friend. Now under 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's absolutely no coming back now for the club unless they can field a
Oh.
goal or a shot on target just to test out Nip. But ultimately, definitely the stronger side in this game one, where NIP, as you said, Jam, ever since that kickoff first came about 2 minutes into the play or so, it looks like NIP had full control. And 2-0 is our result for game one.
The Rocket are a subsidiary of Rocket Baguette, and of course Rocket Baguette has some of the best overlays in the game. I am missing the field domination stat, but I think we can get some of the stats out of here as well. You can see shot-wise 11 on the side of Ninjas in Pajamas. Well, the club got theirs. For the most part, I think those were two shots that I really remember that were dangerous enough for us to just almost leap out of our seats and think, this is the goal. But it did not come to fruition. And in the end, with, again, chances were sort of there for the club. But the problem was they had to convert every single one of them. And it's easier said than done.
Absolutely. And I think that crucial save, I believe it was from Bems quite early on into that game, really shaped the rest of that game to go in NIP's favour, I feel, because if we did find ourselves in sort of a level situation, maybe that 1-1 scoreline, maybe we would have seen the club approach the play with that little bit more vigour. But for the time being, I still believe they're trying to forge those connections. I still believe they're trying to look for each other as a team. But the speed and the pace of NIP at the moment is just such a demanding thing to play against.
It's so hard to be a team that is chasing your opposition. That means you are losing in every single aspect of the play. Boost control, how quickly you can get into the air, how quickly you can get to a 50. By the time you get to the 50, your opponent can already position themselves to play a mind game, to play passively, so they get the advantage of that 50-50. And to nobody's surprise, NIP starts the second game on Forbidden Temple, and they started in the club side.
Yes, absolutely, but the club have already stepped forwards to this halfway mark to try and push forwards into NIP territory. As Unbroken takes this one high, there's not going to be support behind, though. NIP still proving that speed is definitely one of their strengths early on here, and Astromic, well, looking for something cheeky off the backboard there, but wasn't meant to be.
They're trying. They're definitely trying. I always am a fan of underdogs, and that was an underdog kind of shot, but they need a follow-up. Nobody is close enough from the club. They can set up a wonderful play to make NIP sweat. But if nothing comes as a follow-up, then it's all for naught.
Well, you might be able to make them sweat, but you cannot make them completely crumble apart, because the support is just seemingly always there for Nip at the moment, as Kaio takes this one over to the corner. Ian Pinheiro, and that final defender to beat an infield pass, though, wasn't going to do that. Kaio and Astro both dive in for that ball there.
The club start yet another attack. How about this? Set up on the backboard. Hard to create anything when NIP is already there. Bems looking for Kaio on the flank. Won't find him. Already a follow-up from Astromic. And Bems as the last player. Back to Astro. He's trying to find a very crazy angle, and then back to Bems. I love that it's not the first option, not the second option. They look for a third as well. All the while his club is forced to look all around them in front of the net of NIP. Does not work out too much, but it could be a problematic situation. Astro with a little bit of a skip up ahead, and all the pressure from the club once again gets removed.
Yeah, and just dissipated in almost seconds there. The club looked like they were going to craft a strong attack of their own, but immediately back the other end is Astro. He tried his best to put that flip reset on target, but blocked away it was by the club.
Any ideas from the club? Pan started this unbroken pass to Ian Pinheiro, but it just falls off a little bit awkwardly. I still love the touches that are not generic, that had a little bit of ingenuity and creativity behind them. But now, how about that defense? Is going to be falling immediately to Ninjas in Pajamas. And as the clear goes to the flank, pretty sure Kai's going to be looking for somebody in the middle of the field. Goes up high. Astro just tries to throw a block as NIP try to once again claim their foothold in the region that's the blue side of the field.
Yeah, and I think at the moment Nip are very much struggling to craft these infield opportunities. They're really looking for each other as a side, but the gaps are not there as Kaio does find an extra touch and drop down away. The keeper does get just a tiny little save there, but it wasn't quite enough.
2, 3. Sorry, now it's the slowness of the time. Look at how long there was nobody from the club in the vicinity of the net. There was enough time for NIP to have tea and biscuits and then make a shot on the goal.
Yeah, it's heartbreak for the club, really, because that's 2 goals they've conceded so far that maybe they would have wished they had a second attempt at, but NIP was so deadly, especially with that double touch off the backboard. There was little room for error in the club. Maybe had a little one there, but just under 2 minutes of play left for the club to maybe fight back and make a difference here.
Bams is just trying to outplay everybody with 0 boost. In the end, does not get the touch to send the ball goalwards, but already on the wall, first to the ball, immediately plays it past the Italian player of the club, then in the air, beats another one. Almost like solo efforts from NIP players that are threatening the club every single time. What's the plan for the team in blue? They're trying to set up seemingly a passing place, trying to find somebody from the air to the ground. It always seems that NIP just already know the plan. They've seen this movie before. They know how it goes.
And they know the end result as well, after taking them in a game 5 twice before as well, and maybe all this knowledge is finally compounded into something that NIP are just so comfortable to handle at the moment as it looks. But pan downfield and a bump as well, like you say, Jam, still wasn't enough.
Try hard as they might, NIP just have more players, and even if they try to remove one, there's still more. Unbroken tries to play it slow, and while dribbling looked impressive, they do not get the ball anywhere in the vicinity they wanted to. Bams with 0 boost once again manages to outplay club players, and the moment club get a touch of the ball, they let it go, and NIP get their hands on it. To the center it goes. Another long clear, and once again, player advantage NIP, with the club just not holding on to it. Lovely little play by Stromic. And right now stopped in the middle of the field again. Club might clear it and might actually find something here. Long clear doesn't find anything. Again, we are down to the last seconds. Game number 2.
10 seconds left, and the club simply have no more players to push forward. And Astro, as he lunges for this final bump, it might be the final nail in the coffin as well. And the club are just going to have to sit back and consider what they can forge in Game 3, because NIP, that is almost 2 flawless performances in a row now, Jam.
Good news for the club, low-scoring games. Shot-wise, yes, it's problematic. NIP is still out-shooting you. They still have the control, and the defense for the club has to work. Right now, you can see that Pan is doing most of the work in the defense. Here it is, the only goal of the game going into the net. As we saw, the side of NIP just beating the last player, and then nobody was home on the side of the club. So 1-goal games still give a lot of wiggle room for the side of the club, but their goal-scoring output seemingly is not there. Sometimes it feels like they're going past the midfield line. Output isn't there either.
Yeah, and it just seems like that numbers advantage that we've talked about so often now is just so firmly in favour of NIP, simply because of their presence in offense. They are such an aggressive natured team at the moment. They are winning all of these trades, all of these 50-50s, and the gaps are bound to emerge eventually, even if you've got that solid structure and defense to rely upon. If you're just beaten out every single time, what is it you can do, Jam?
Well, I think my mind always goes demos, physical plays. Maybe that's exactly what the club are going to be talking about as they take a timeout after 2 losses, trying to stop the momentum of Ninjas in pajamas and trying to regain some of the control of the game to themselves as well. It feels like that even in the, as we saw the last game stats, it wasn't a overwhelming advantage, but club were going for those demos, recording I think 3 or 4 in total, and we saw how in some of the plays it was opening them up, but they always needed a player advantage up front. So the first player goes for a demo, or at the very least a setup off the backboard or the wall or anything, and then a second player is the follow who basically has all the pressure on them to find the ball, find the shot on target. So far, it has not worked out. But to me, it seems like if you cannot be speedy, be sneaky, be crafty. Just play in a way that annoys your opponent rather than outpaces it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the moment, another feature of the club at the moment is they're playing in a very readable manner. It's something that NIP are extremely comfortable to deal with. So, like you mentioned, Jam, something like that disruptive nature that you can inject into the play at any given second with those bumps, those demos, those opening of the space, maybe advancing that first man a little bit further forwards in your own defense just to bump the living daylights out of the attackers could come a long way for the club.
But to me, it seems like it's a problem of they have to switch up their playstyle very significantly, unless their game plan already includes, and speaking of which, demos, bumps, somehow still Bems makes yet another wild save, and the club, listening to us, doing everything that we asked them to do, still cannot find anything. In Panera, Oh, they throw a little bit of a smoke screen, and they double play, and look at that, opener for the club.
I feel like the club sensed a little bit of doubt in our voices, maybe, Jam, because they shut that down relatively quickly on that play. A beautifully controlled air dribble that was, and the finish was perfect as well.
Yeah. Oh, and straight off the kickoff, 2 opportunities for the club. Hold your horses. I think this little break has brought them something. And I do believe, Psycho, that it is the South America that goes absolutely mental when it comes to taking a timeout and then starting to win like crazy.
Yeah, and this could be one such example if the club can now just hold on for 4 minutes without concession, which is a very difficult task, of course, but the club downfield with another shot on target. What a save that is from Benz for not even the second, but the third time so far this series.
That's a thing. The club can definitely throw a absolute knuckle duster, and NIP is forced to make that save on the goal line, off the post. But once again, the follow-up is lacking. The club cannot possibly break down the defense of NIP. Yes, I know how the first goal of this game was scored, but they needed 2 players. And they always going to need 2 players coming for any of these plays. I don't think the club can catch NIP napping. The defensive positioning is always strong, and I almost was made to eat my words right there and then.
Yeah, NIP were all out of shape there, and the club easily could have made that 2 as well. The shot put forth was eventually blocked away by that player rotating back at the very last second for NIP there. Maybe another chance here, but no players from the club able to mount an attack. That's an incredible dunk, though, from Unbroken, but unfortunately only pushed it a little distance there.
Are we seeing the club just making shorter rotations and coming at NIP when they're not expecting it, when they feel like the attack has ended, we have the control, and now it seems like somebody from the club always comes in and says, nope, we're still not done here, and that throws it even past the defensive line of an NIP.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do think this sort of turn of pace from the club is largely attributed to exactly what you said, but do they have it in them to hold on? That is the question as Pan takes this one high. Extra touch in field, he's dropped it down. It's an interesting decision, like you say, Jam. Just looking for that pass there, but still control firmly in their favour.
Yeah, even immediately as he set it up, he took it so across the field rather than goalwards. It looked like he was always planning on that to be straight to his teammate. It keeps it away from NIP players who are sitting at the goal line, and so less chance for them to interfere with that said passing play. But the club are trying a lot of the things, and while not everything might be working, again, I admire the creativity. I admire still having something in their playbook to throw their opposition.
Yeah, and if you throw 100 darts, at least one of them is bound to stick, and the club has found one that has. And NIP, fortunately for them, have actually thrived off of 2 last-minute saves so far in this game. Otherwise, it could have been 3-0 to the club, as Pan, over in his back corner, has someone to launch forward this ball downfield for. And Broken just settling this one back as well. The club doing so well at keeping possession of the play. They're just commanding all territory right now.
You could see they are well set up to follow it up. Oh, this Pan, I feel like, should have seen it coming a long way ago. Unbroken dips out of the plate. He has no boost. Bams almost ignores players coming against him. But by that point, it's a roller on the wall. Feels like there could have been just a little bit more from the club.
Yeah, definitely. And Pan, I think he was caught in 2 minds there about whether he could go up and make that pre-jump across his own front post to cover that angle off. Maybe it was something to do with a boost game at the moment there. I didn't quite catch it, but still, the club now have so much work to do as 1-1. Still looks a likely affair that they could for themselves a victory here, but we know how NIP responds to a first.
Oh, and the problem is, that one goal, I think, just either opened up the gates for NIP or the club has completely lost their cool and are now in the same nervy position that they've been in game number 1 and game number 2. It is a tie game, but Astro just gets a freebie right there. Even Ian Pinero cannot stop it in front of the net. Just out of nowhere, this slips away. No pass. Unbroken gets chased. I'm pretty sure he has been bumped, and he definitely has been bumped. But now NIP gets the shortcut play, and immediately off of that, they get a goal.
Yeah, and the club were very widely spaced apart there in NIP with that infield roller. Just able to catch the bump as well on that third player advancing forward in Unbroken. Of course, there was no support behind him there. He was really taking a risk lunging forward there, but what else could he do when NIP had that sort of presence?
Almost nothing. In that situation, almost nothing. And even previously, we know how well NIP can just put players up front. Strong shot. More saves are needed. Now it's Kaio. Bouncing it on down. Ian Pinero is going to be in a dribbling position, but he's just killing the time for his teammates. Goes solo, and everybody goes for that ball, including Pan. More on the flank. Somebody is needed from the club. Slow play once again. It seems like we find ourselves in this situation quite often. Pan, how about an angle? Works out as a pass, but Unbroken cannot get it.
Yeah, and the infield ball towards Ian Pinero is going to be beaten out as well in that contest from NIP, and this is going to be their third game on the trot now against all odds, seemingly, in this particular game at least. The club showed us something very, very special in those opening minutes. You talked about how difficult it might be to sort of create that resurgence, create that new play style to approach NIP moving forwards, and still couldn't get it done.
Yeah, look at that. This wonderful play was off the club, committing to straight immediately for the play, and it worked out wonderfully. But right here, I'm actually quickly looking up. Pam was just almost sitting at 100 in the net. I think it was just, I've got a bit of a cold feet situation. Not sure if he needs to go for that particular clearing play. Oh, well, in the end, the little break, the pause that the club has taken has done them well for about half of that previous game.
Yeah.
And they looked incredible at the very beginning of it. Again, quick, just asking questions for NIP that they couldn't immediately answer, but it was not enough. You said, and now they need to wait for 4 minutes and somehow survive. They couldn't.
Yeah, and I think that's something we come to expect from NIP. They always fight back. They always bounce back with something special when put in that sort of situation. But I do believe that style that the club approached with was very, very effective early on. We saw those rotations really close up, like you mentioned, Jam, that sort of new volatility we had from the club, almost keep that presence on the field that they might have been missing in games 1 and 2. But moving on to here, in a match point situation for NIP, the club need something a lot more to give now.
4 match points. It is madness. Yeah. Whichever team you consider in this situation. Could be NIP and so much cushioning, and could be the club, and there needs to be a turnaround. It is shambles straight off the whistle, as we're seeing NIP in their best colors from game number 1, where the first minute was all ninjas in pajamas.
And I think there's been many a question asked as to when we're going to see the true nature and the true capability of this NIP side really weave its way into light. And so far they have made that statement of which they have been missing so far in the Winter Open and the Cup combined. But on this attack is proving of why you can never count this team out.
It wasn't even his teammates' setup, but he was already there and going for it. Starting at a disadvantage, the club basically has a mountain in front of them to climb. This season, there hasn't been a single reverse sweep in South America in best of sevens. Hey, there was only one best of 7 across the whole season, and that was in Oceania. Ground Zero Gaming, unsurprisingly, did that one over at the Lake Show if you're interested, but it is tough. Pan, though, on the other side of the field, and look at that. That looked incredibly open out of nowhere. 1, 2... He just doesn't mind. He carries it on a silver platter to Pan.
He absolutely doesn't mind, and he caught that sort of second man from NIP completely off guard with that little prod in the corner. And of course, that third man needed to try and make an impact. They tried to do what Pan didn't in the game prior, just push out early, intercept that angle, cut it off nice and quickly there, but still didn't work out.
I see Bams is sporting one of the loudest and most flashiest boost, which is the Rainbow, let's call it. I'm not sure they have the exact name. I do have it on one of my cars, but that's one of my flashiest and absolutely craziest ones. Whether it's a weapon of this is a weapon. Astronomic. Look at that banger.
That is a weapon of mass destruction, and his name is Astromic, and he's found the top right-hand corner at 132 kph.
Not a pinch, just a straight-up shot. Off the pass, of course, but illegal. Absolutely illegal to have a arm for a cannon and cannon for an arm, whichever way this goes. And the club, they fought hard for that one-time goal, and now they have to do it all over again. Finding himself in the orange side of the field. NIP, once again, in the lead.
Yeah, and I don't think the club can certainly rely on methods such as that first goal they tucked in to push an equaliser here as NIP working their way forwards. Astromic in the corner. He's got options, an infield pass. He's trying to do it himself.
Is that another own goal?
What just happened?
I'm pretty sure it's an own goal. There is a setup right here. Astro goes up high from him, and here you have it. Oh, yes, in the end, Ian puts it in his own net, as I think Kaya was either putting it out of the net, off the post, of course, so there's plenty of opportunities later on, but fake off the kickoff. Again, love to see that. You need to have a confidence of the club to just call off, we're going to have a fake, immediately going to the other side of the field. I just want to see a goal right here from the club. This is how they potentially stay alive in this one, but it breaks down. We've seen some crazy shots and crazy goals today, Psycho.
We really have, and in the most unexpected circumstances, I think it's fair to say, as well as Pan with an infield ball. And it's dropped down immediately by his teammate, unbroken up quickly for this, blocked away it was by the backboard and Astromic combined, and it's wide open now. The club, they pushed everything they had into that one play, and you can see how much it's meaning to the club right now if they leave things as exposed as this.
The matter of fact is, I don't see anybody on that replay from the club. I see Pan, who tries to throw himself in front of the ball, but the club get nothing in the offense. We need to be careful right here. This would be embarrassing, a kickoff goal. But they get nothing in the offense, and then their rotation is not set up to go back and protect themselves. Bems can even play it off himself, and Astromic is already in the back. We're going to reset to Kyle gets to touch that ball. The club is all there, and yet it's NIP who gets the first touch of the play.
Yeah, and also 3 players from the club required to just see that ball away. They're all just turtled up in net at the moment. They can see their hope slowly dwindling away, and it must be such a painful situation for the club right now as this one drops in field for Kaio as well. The club just had to let this one roll on by, and 5-1 NIP on a surefire path to taking this series.
Deja vu. I've been in this place before. However that song goes. Unfortunately for Ian Pinheiro, he tripped over the post. But it's still, we are seeing a deconstruction of the opponents, and Kaio currently picks up another one. This is the highest scoreline we had this series so far. So far this day, I suppose, but this is only the first series. We still can see a lot more. We might yet to see a Brazil in, not fully Brazil. I do believe we have. Not anymore. Speaking of Brazil, the singular Brazilian on the side of the club is getting club a tiniest of the lifelines. Cycle 3 goals, 36 seconds for each one. I would love to see a comeback. I'm a believer. Yes.
Do you believe that much, Jam? That's the real question here.
Always.
It might be 2. That ceiling pinch is ludicrous, but it's not on target, unfortunately. And I think one very abstract reference that a couple people in chat and also on the casting booth today as well might know of is Kiel. They were 3 goals ahead in the CRL World Championship. That didn't go down well. They threw all 3 in a matter of seconds, as that one from Astromic was almost a 6th.
University Rocketeers and Collegiate Rocket League. I hope there's some fans, because I'm pretty sure there's a crossover of the folks watching Rocket RB and those who watch the European and overall collegiate lines. Prof, right now in the time passing half already gone, and the club still weren't able to show much. And yeah, Psycho, I am a total and absolute believer. I want to see a comeback for the ages. And right now they're setting up for one again. Pass all the way to the midfield line, and Pan looking for it on the ground. But it feels like even with the club having the time is playing against them in a sense that it takes them so long to set up a play that by the time they sort of put the final piece in play, NIP have already read that a long time ago.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you one thing though, it is really, really nice to see NIP back to such a commanding performance as what they've shown us in this series so far. I think from their point of view and the fans alike, there was more expectations, it's fair to say, for a roster of their individual caliber. All three players on the field, Astromic, Bems and Kaya, all so well renowned in the SAM region and just worldwide as well. And finally, they've gone and pushed themselves through to a grand finals, Jam.
I think they thoroughly deserve this one. And if we had questions and we had glimpses in previous games, questions for NIP and glimpses for the club, right now, I think this leaves no question whatsoever. NIP have started the day strong, 4-0 sweep of their opposition in the club. And while whoever they play, be it Parabellum or Team Secret in the finals, might throw a bigger challenge against them, 4-0 sweep still speaks volumes, and it is it is something. All right, well, this has been quite a start for the day, and only the first series of the day as well. As well, we still have so much more to play. We have the second semifinal, we have the grand finals, and of course the tiebreaker between Crew Esports and Exceed. But if this first match is anything to go by, I think it's going to be quite a doozy, Psycho.
Maybe so, but I think looking forward to the games we have in front as well, I'm sure there's going to be some closely fought affairs and also some new contenders in Parabellum, of which we've not seen so far on this particular channel before. So it's going to be lovely to see how they compete, and going forwards in the bracket with a 4-1 win against their opposition in the quarterfinals was such a massive step up from what we've seen from them in the past. They finally pushed themselves forward past that quarterfinals finishing position, and they're here to do some damage against, I think it's very much fair to say now, the absolute kings of the South American region now.
No doubts about that, and there's many questions remaining. Whether Team Secret can win yet another regional. Of course, last time it was not them, it was the club, I do believe, collecting the previous regional. This time, the club moving on to the grand finals. Sorry, club not moving on to the grand finals. I just saw this series in my own eyes, and yes, I clearly saw who won and who lost, obviously. But also something for the Parabellum, just like we mentioned before, NIP, the club, and then the Parabellum. These are the three teams that we have not seen right here on the Rocket, as they have never made it into the final day. So finally time for them to prove that they're made out of sturdier material, because again, this is a region that has 7-8 teams. Yeah. Yes, there's Team Secret on the top, but then everybody else, it's open season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the tightest region at the moment, bar maybe EU at the moment, which is very strange to say. And I think that's even a lot more sort of top heavy in terms of the front runners in the European region are just dominating. They are stomping at the moment. It looks fantastic. Over here in South America, there is two teams, perhaps, maybe three, definitely three teams that are capable of being the best on any given day. And below that, we have so much depth. Looking forward to those sort of 8th place potential finishers as well. Like you said, Jam, those certainly capable of making their own dent.
All right. Well, before we go, Psycho, do you believe in Team Secret and their dominance, or do you think an underdog is going to take the next series? No need for a score, just where you're... I mean, I know that there's like a statistician and there's like an analyst part of it.
Yeah.
But also there's the heart. What does your heart tell you?
See, my heart is a strange thing, because usually it looks at these series and it's a bit blunt and honest, and it says Team Secret are going to win and it's going to be 4-0. I don't think today is going to be one of those days, Jams. I'm going to be counting my lucky stars. I think Parabellum, especially with that win against Exceed, certainly have the motivation, and they've shown their strength so far this regional. So they're going to be the team I expect to take it against all odds, Jam.
The number 1 seed going into Winter Major, Team Secret versus Parabellum. First time on the Rocket RB. Who's going to take it? Find out after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the RLCS SAM Winter Invitational. Our second semi-final is upon us. Team Secret versus Parabellum Esports. And I've switched out for Jareth Jam, but with me is the stable that is a Psycho, who said earlier, previously to the break, Parabellum is going to win this one. And mate, I don't know what you're on, but please, could you share it?
Currently, it's a fast food company that's been consumed today. So I'm going to put all of my wrong predictions, if they do turn out to be wrong, on that particular fast food company for giving me the wrong predictions today. I do think Parabellum is going to be a team that is one to look out for, especially in this regional itself, in the Winter Invitational, because so far they have had a good track record. They beat Exceed in the quarterfinals 4-1, like we mentioned just before we cut to the break, and they do have some strong opposition. I think it's fair to say, Macfish, and I know my predictions were in favour of Parabellum, but Team Secret is pretty good. Yeah,
I think that's safe to say. Team Secret is very, very good. And I mean, I've seen them for every single region of this SAM split, for this winter split. So, and every time they've been in this position, they had tough opposition, but they just secreted their way through. By that, I mean, they just made it work. They just closed out the games and won the series. So Parabellum is going to have a huge mountain to climb. And given their track record against Secret from fall, I wouldn't necessarily be the one betting on them, because that Psycho has not been looking fancy, has it?
No, not at all. The track record between these two teams has just gone in dominant favour of Team Secret every time they've played. But that's not to say that history cannot be changed here in terms of setting the record straight, really, for Parabellum. Because just looking at the teams that they've beaten so far on this here run, if there is any time at all to get your revenge, to beat Team Secret, to state your name in such a region full of depth as SAM is, now is maybe the time to do it, Max.
Now would really be the prime time to do it, because although for Team Secret, it's not really anything to play for this region other than, you know, maybe a few more points going towards Worlds. Parabellum is still in that hunting spot where I think we're safe to say that we're going to have 4 teams going into, or going to be in contention for that World Championship spots out of South America, and Parabellum looking to join that elite club here with their matchup in the Fall Invitational semi-final number 2. Team Secret versus Parabellum Esports.
And that is an interesting touch from Knight to kick us off early on into this game. It looked as if